So this is my literacy profile by me. And before I get started, I'd really just like to say thank you for allowing me to do it like this. I don't have access to a classroom, and so I don't really know how I'd record it. So I figured that this would be the best way to go about it. So I hope it works. Here we go. So my reader description. My reader that I've been working with is in big first grade at Four Rivers Community School. This is his second year of first grade because the school does 1 year of kindergarten, primarily in Spanish, and 2 years of first grade for students who need the additional time to catch up to first grade benchmarks before going on to second grade. So he is in his second year and he's getting really close to transitioning into second grade, and so it's pretty exciting. For his reading level is Fountas and Pennell levels C and D. This is where he will best read at by himself. Unfortunately, this isn't always where his interest levels are. And that's a huge issue, especially during center time, trying to get him to read his own books because his mind is so energetic and wants to wander. And so getting him to sit down and read these books that are focused on reading texts are really tough. His interest level. My 8-year-old first grader doesn't always go after his reading level because his interest level in other things is so high. We'll look at some books later that are in his interest level, and I will elaborate more on them. His interest level in books doesn't reflect much appreciation for the text as much as it reflects his high curiosity for pictures and the physical world around him. And that's what I've really noticed about him throughout my time working with him, is his physical development really parallels his interest in reading books. And we'll talk about that a little bit. His motivation for reading, like I said, just books in his reading level or for reading for just the text is really low. He will hardly pick up a book by himself just to read. He doesn't challenge himself. I can tell from working and reading with him that he doesn't get a lot of support outside of the classroom. This is probably because his mother only speaks Spanish, and he never really mastered his first language of Spanish. So when he is confronted with a word he doesn't know, he usually gives up and doesn't try any strategy to try to decode the word. But when he is able to sit with an adult who can help him read and suggest strategies for him to use, he is usually able to figure out the word, and he gets really excited that he can read the word, and that's awesome. And we've talked about Krashen and a lot other theorists throughout this program, and so this really reminds me of his I+1 theory that says acquisition requires meaningful interaction in the target language. Because he's not able to take the English books home and read them with his mom, he doesn't get that meaningful interaction. But when he's at school and he's able to sit down with an adult who's able to give him that +1 and help him figure out those words, he gets excited because those interactions are really meaningful. And I think as he experiences more of those meaningful interactions at school, I think that his reading motivation will grow tremendously. His preferences are to read books that extend his young boy's imagination. And like I said, he's 8, he's growing, he's almost in second grade. He's to the age where most young boys now are almost going to be in third grade. So he wants to be physical. He wants to read things that are physical or action-packed. And that's kind of where I took my book preferences to for him to read. And we'll get into that. And so for my first recommendations, I chose 2 books by Yui Morales. The first one is Niño Wrestles the World, and the second one is Niños Horrendas Hermanitas. These are really good books that I think would be perfect for him to extend those reading skills outside of the classroom. These 2 books really use Spanish and English together in the same sentences even, and so it provides a lot of context clues between the 2 languages, which is really good. Because he didn't master Spanish as he was growing up, And so right now he's trying to work on both languages together. I think that these two books he could take home, and because his mom speaks primarily Spanish and he speaks primarily English, unfortunately, they could read these together, and they're action-packed and they're fun. And it's something that he could have a meaningful interaction with his mom at home, which is really important. These two books that are at his reading level of D, and are two that I thought he would still be interested in. When I was looking through the books on Scholastic, I noticed at these levels, the things that are written about in most of these books are pretty bland. For a young reader who hasn't had much experience with books, these types of topics would probably be perfect. But my reader is 8 and is almost in 2nd grade. And so this is his 3rd year in school, and now that he's growing and developing the boyish tendencies, he needs to read books that will keep his mind occupied with things that he's interested in. And so I picked these two books because they have animals in them. The first one, The Sky is Falling Down, seems like a really fun thing to read about and can really extend his imagination. Because when you think about the sky falling down, that's really abstract. How does that happen? What's the problem? What's the solution? And so he could really, even though his mind wants to have some action and get going, this can take his mind somewhere else and really put a thought process on it, which is really good. Also, this book is in his reading level, so it'd be perfect for him to read on his own and experience success with a book that draws his interest as well. The same goes for the books about tiger sharks, big animals that he has never seen, and gaining information about those animals are a huge interest point for my reader. Again, experiencing success at his reading level while also reading about things that are of high interest to him will boost his reading ability, interest, and motivation tremendously. I think having more books like these two in the classroom, in his good fit baggies for him to read, are really going to pull him in. And even because he can read these on his own, allowing him to take them home and share with his brothers and sisters, or even with his mom, like I said, that meaningful connection is what he really needs. And these two would be perfect. My last two book recommendations, every 1st grade teacher should know about the Elephant and Piggy books, because they're so fun. And that's another one that I think he needs is being able to read fun things. And when these two figure out that they're in a book and they're talking about it, that's kind of an abstract thought too, where the characters in a book actually figure out they're in a book. And so for him to read that with an adult, this is kind of that I+1 thing. I think he could have a lot of fun with it, and I think he would laugh. And this is a series of books that he could grow through and read and reread and experience over and over and over. And I think that would be perfect for him. Who would win? These are probably his favorite books. Whenever I've asked him to, hey buddy, grab a book so we can read it, these are the books he always comes with, because he is so excited about the action and all that stuff. And so it's paralleling his physical and cognitive development and all those things. And he wants to know facts about all these animals and how big they are and how strong they are and how quick they move. And so again, with an adult, with an able reader, these are perfect. And he needs to have more success reading these types of books. So my conclusion, he should receive small group intervention to extend those reading skills. He should receive support in both languages in reading, just like I said, bringing home books to his mom. He needs teachers to understand his interest levels, like the Who Would Win books, and so he can always, through the grades, read books that are really important to him. And he needs to experience more celebrated success in the classroom. Just like when I know he figured out a word, we always high five, and that makes him feel really good. And I think that extends his reading skills. Thank you.